Okay, we're now streaming live on YouTube.
Hey folks, I would report that we met in camera for a contractual issue and a land discussion. From those discussions, we do have one motion coming forward to committee. So Warden Smith, I would turn it over to you.
I would move that Corporate and Residential Service Committee recommend that council direct staff to enter into a lease agreement with the Shenectady Central Regional Center for Education at the former Almsdale School property for the purpose of a pre-primary programming.
Do we have a seconder?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. So all those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 I'm trying to look from screen to screen, but I believe it's unanimous. Following that, we have one other item that was added to executive agenda, and that was just to ask staff if they could give us a quick overview on the reasons behind the closure to the public of the Georgefield landfill. I think many of us are getting questions, and I know we got an email explaining it, but I guess I'm just looking for the best way to explain to the public exactly why we're keeping that facility closed, because the questions I'm getting are saying, you know, if we socially distance, you know, what's the risk?
So
Yes,
Madam Chair, I
over to you,
think
Kim.
I'll go over some high level information for the public that I know council is aware of, and Jesse can certainly weigh in if you have any questions or to discuss potential options for reopening if we want to do that. So right now we're running with 50% of our staff at the Waste Management Center, not related to anything other than personnel and COVID restrictions that we have in place. So before we do anything, we would need to add more resources to the site without question. We cannot open the site to the public without adding more resources out there. We have one of our other full-time staff members from another department working out there for 3 days a week at the scale house. Not for the, she hasn't been out there for very long. She's been out there a week and a half or two maybe. And that has allowed 2 of our operators to work in the back of the site to move the commercial waste around. We are currently accepting commercial waste through private haulers. So if somebody was doing a construction project and they wanted to remove their waste, they could hire a dumpster and have the commercial hauler take that waste away and bring it to the Waste Management Center. My understanding is there's a lot of folks out there who are doing their own renovations and are looking to bring their waste out as C&D. And we also have our curbside collection. So one of the things that we're hoping that people realize is we do have quite an extensive curbside collection in East Hants, and there is a lot that can go out to curbside, and we would encourage people and have been encouraging people through our social media to look online on our website or call the 1-800 number that we have in place to find out what can and cannot go curbside, because there is a tremendous amount of waste that can be collected curbside. My understanding is that people want to come to the site, from what I've heard, primarily for C&D waste. We are under a emergency order from the province that we shouldn't be encouraging people traveling around, and you know, people are being told they can't use parks that are outside of their neighborhoods and whatnot. So I think that is a concern for us, that we would encourage people to go to our waste management site, which is a fair distance for most, which puts all of the people along the route at risk. You have first responders who are trying to minimize the number of responses we need to take. You put more vehicles out on the road, you're going to have more accidents and whatnot. Once they actually get to the site, my concern is for the safety of our staff. We do have As I mentioned, we're down some staff. We have 2 staff out there, and they are the 2 trained operators that we can't replace easily if they were to get sick from the public coming out to the site. So although most of the processes out there, you can maintain your social distancing, it's much easier when people are familiar with the site, like the commercial haulers are. And if we had an emergency while at the site, which we've had in the past, our staff would have to respond to that emergency, and social distancing may or may not be appropriate in a medical emergency, for example, which would then put our staff at risk again. So as far as opening the site, we could look for a plan to open the site. It would not be my first choice to do. We can certainly plan to do sort of a C&D collection if we wanted to, for a cost of about $10,000, to have our haulers go out and do a complete C&D collection, which we would advertise to folks and let them know that the trucks were coming on a certain day and they could put their C&D curbside for collection. We've done that in the past. Or you could open your site. We don't have commercial haulers on the site on Mondays, so we could try and plan to open the site to C&D disposal only on Mondays, which would be an option for folks. That wouldn't come without a lot of planning and a lot of protocols and process. And right now, I don't know that we're ready for it, but we could certainly, if council wanted us to look at that option, we could look at that option. Earliest we would be able to do that would sort of be to be effective, would be sort of early to mid-June before we could be prepared to open up. And then I would only recommend you open up on the Monday when we don't have commercial haulers coming in. And I would only recommend that you open up to C&D, which I'm not sure what councilors are hearing, if that's the primary disposal that people want. If it's not C&D, then you should be encouraging them to put things out to the curbside, because we will take pretty much anything. I think, Jesse, you can, there's a lot of things that people want us, old furniture and whatnot. There's allowances for that in our curbside collection. So I guess that is the stance that we have right now. If council wants to look at different options, we can prepare some of those for you for council night. Staff have taken a stab at sort of thinking through what those would look like. I'm not prepared to release those publicly today, but we do have some initial thoughts around what that might look like. My biggest concern is the public health directive that's in place right now, and making sure that our staff are safe. We need to be able to provide a safe workplace for our staff.
Gordon Smith.
I guess just I haven't received any complaints, but we do have I do get lots of compliments that we do have one of the best waste services. We do the curbside pickup. Most units only do those on once or twice a year, if they do them at all. My only concern would be if we did with a Monday only C&D, the education piece will be used. What do you do if someone shows up and the average person's not going to know the difference between C&D and the junk that he just pulled out of his garage, as opposed to the metal, opposed to the recycling. And so if you have someone roll in, then you're going to have to get involved in getting in the truck or looking. Your social distances are going to get shorter. I'm not saying they couldn't be maintained, but certainly you could end up in a situation where you're going to have more people leaving with their trucks half full again that aren't going to be happy. So if it's C&D waste, it's not collecting rats, it's not doing anything, it's just sitting there inert waiting for better times.
Any further comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Rhino.
Well, I'm constantly getting calls and people running into me, when's the landfill site going to open? And really, I don't see a reason why that can't be. Now, don't get me wrong, health is fine, but we can social distance out there. I don't buy that we can't social distance out there. I've talked to the hardware store in my area, the one in Brookfield. There, I asked them how their business was during COVID. They said our contractor business is down, but our do-it-yourselfers are way up, and we're doing from compared to 100% of business we're now doing 175%, mainly because of do-it-yourselfers. Calls the other day about the weather's getting good, so the jobs are starting, and a lot of them are doing it themselves. They can't get rid of it, and it's just building up. We've got instances of dump sites being on old logging roads out to the Georgefield area and so on. To open up on Monday is really not an option because people working would have to take a day off. I think I would like to see a Saturday, even 4 or 5 hours on a Saturday, and go with from there. As far as people gonna get hurt out there or anything, well, that can happen anywhere. That could happen in Walmart. That can happen anywhere. So I really don't buy that. And when I hear Musquodoboit is open 3 days a week, and the old people can take it there, like, we've got to make some allowances. Maybe not open 6 days a week, but surely we could open on a Saturday once or twice a month to get rid of some of this backlog that's taking place. Like, I'm getting frustrated with this, and I see no reason why that can't at least be modified opening somehow. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Smith. You're on
muted,
mute, Councillor.
Sorry about that. I agree with Councillor Rhino on this one. I am getting numerous complaints. It's busier now with council. I guess maybe too, people are at home and people are finding the time to reach out, which I'm really happy about. But, you know, I have people saying to me, I'm a taxpayer, you know, it's a service that they're paying for, and people are worried about rats. People in my neighborhood are burning garbage. I just think even if we could start with a small, safe plan, starting on Saturdays, I don't want to put anybody at risk, but I know that, you know, our healthcare professionals and, you know, there's so many people out there doing an amazing job. And I think I have to trust that our staff will do that too. So I would like to see a plan put in place to offer some type of service that people can take their items to our solid waste management. That's all for now. Thank you.
Okay, I have Deputy Warden Perry, and did you want to respond first, Kim?
I guess just a question for the two councillors that have already spoken. The request from your residents, or what you're asking for staff to do, are you looking for a complete opening to bring anything and everything, or are you looking for a C&D disposal option? Because I'm hearing C&D disposal, but then I'm hearing about rats. So there wouldn't be rats if it was C&D that they're looking to get rid of. And anything that would draw rats to their garbage would be collectible through the roadside collection. So either through your compost or through your garbage collection.
For me, I would like it open. I would like it open for everything. You've got a lot of spring cleaning going on. You've got this, you've got that aren't really two. There's a lot of C&D. So there's stuff other than C&D. So I would say to open it up. My thing would open it up on a Saturday morning, make our safety precautions, but it'd be open to anything to take it out there.
Heather?
I think Jesse would like to speak first.
Yeah. Okay, and I have Deputy Warden Perry. I just was waiting to see if you, Kim had asked for the two councillors who had spoken, if it was C&D or everything.
I was going to wait for Jesse to respond.
Okay. Did you want to weigh in, Deputy Warden Perry, before we go to Jesse?
For me, as far as normal garbage pickup, our normal curbside pickup and everything else for the household waste has not been affected whatsoever due to COVID-19. People still have their 5 bags. They're the recycling and everything else. We did ask the public if they can store some of it to help us, so we don't overflow capacity or have to go into disposal of that. But other than that, if they can't, everything can be turned in as per normal. With construction debris and do it yourself, one of the things when you're doing yourself, maybe in this climate, you have to factor in costs for a bin, and that's the way you dispose of your garbage. This is on unprecedented times and measures, and I don't know the situation in Musquodoboit. I don't know what their staffing levels is, how many deep they go at each position. But if we're only 2 deep or 1 deep in certain positions, and something does happen, we risk a total closure of our waste management completely. So unless these other places have more redundancies, if we don't have the staffing levels that they have, that could be another consideration that we have to look at before we move forward. Thank you.
Okay, and I have Eli on deck as well. Councillor Musa?
Thank you. Like, I don't mind like keeping it closed, but I know in my area, a lot of people are doing like small renovation and they have some debris out their homes. So I just wonder if we could put like that unsightly and dangerous property or probably a little bit further back this way. We can be fair to the public, because everywhere you go now, there's some junk outside, like some recycling lot stuff that doesn't look good, but it's a different situation now. And as long as we don't take action on those people and force them to send it through a commercial dumping, I'm okay with closure. So thank you.
Okay. Hey, Jesse?
Perfect, thank you. Just looking to provide some stats and data just to help bring that perspective for everyone. From an illegal dumping stance, we've had 1 reported illegal dumping in April versus 1 illegal dumping report in April the previous year. So what's being reported and what we're investigating isn't an increase necessarily. We've had a lot of discussions with the public over the last couple weeks where they've called in about what accounts as litter versus illegal dumping. And there's not as large public awareness of the difference between the two. So there's a lot of litter that's been accumulating on the streets, and we're missing out on some community champions that usually make that stuff just go away. And so Earth Day is passed. That is usually hand in hand with the Nova Scotia Great Pick Me Up. Happens every year. Essentially, it's a annual house cleaning of street sides across the province that just didn't happen this year. Adopt a Highway, they've been on hiatus as well for the same reasons, because these folks operate typically in groups, and so they've been asked not to, and it's kind of a social event at the same time, right? So that's really been that perception from a staff perspective of what we're hearing and how we're having those conversations. And I also want to rewind. I've got to emphasize with everyone's frustrations of wanting to get out and do the work. Some of the challenges we're having from on-site staff is overall fatigue. We were really put into a bind by the recycling situation and stockpiling of material. We had short-staffed and a large stockpile of material that we were not able to even start managing until a couple of weeks ago. I don't want to underestimate that. We narrowed, staff fatigue's huge out there, and we're at 50%. And as soon as we open up C&D, we're going to be mixing types of equipment uses as well. It's an added variable. It's an added risk. And so I'm worried about staff fatigue. I'm also safety. I'm also worried about public safety. You add extra variables on fatigue staff, adding variables of different equipment, someone's going to get hurt. And that's the bottom line for me. That's my professional opinion on that one. So we do have to open up at some point. We're talking it weekly, but phasing it in and trying to maybe making it completely accessible to all on a schedule isn't the best option, because we could be lined up right down the Georgefield Road for some time and create quite the safety hazard versus phasing it in. And maybe it's not as convenient, but it's picking away at the backlog, and there's a safer maybe way to do it. It adds public frustration, but it might be frustration that's warranted for the greater good of safety. And we do have to a lot of catch up, and it's a lot of planning. So I just wanted to provide that. Thank everyone for their patience so far, and just bear with us. We're talking weekly. We are, and we're trying to come up with those options and ideas that ultimately Kim's going to have to provide us operational direction on.
I have Councillor Hebb and then Councillor Rhino. You're muted, Councillor Hebb.
There we go. A lot of people like to mute me most of the time anyway. Just some comments I'd like to make is that, you know, I've talked to a lot of people that work in construction are still there. And construction has moved on basically the same with the you know, the precautions put in place. So work has to go on regardless of what it is. If you take construction and close it down because of this, there would be nothing. And this is no different than the construction. You work safely as you can. We're down staff right now, and if the government was to lift the sanction, the dump would open up, then what are you going to do? You're going to have to hire somebody else, or you're still going to run with 2 people? Like, it's a situation that's going to come off sometime. So at some point, we've got to be prepared for when this happens. And I happened to be talking to the woodlot manager for Elmsdale Lumber over the weekend. And he's just starting to check his roads. He's got 5 dump sites already. And he said he's never even started to check most of the roads. So there will be, I told him, you know, just gonna, you know, should be contacting the municipality so they can record this stuff and maybe have a look at it. So the ATVers haven't been out there much yet. And they're the ones that report to me where all these dump sites are. So when they start traveling around, there's going to be a lot more dump sites there too. And why is the dump sites there? It's because the landfill is closed. I understand the situation is out there. I understand that. But if it's because of shortage of manpower, then maybe we have to look at hiring somebody else temporarily to fill that position. But I think that's one of the things that's, you know, the people that done all these renovations have got the stuff held up in their yard. Now they want to start cleaning the yards up, and they're getting antsy now to get the stuff out so they can continue on what they're doing. So, you know, like I said, if we can just open it up on a Saturday basis, you know, just for that, why, I think it's something we definitely got to look into, because it's going to be a bad situation for the rural, especially the rural parts of East Hants, because people are dumping stuff now. And it's not, I know the Blois Road, there's one road that's got 2 big piles on it, and there's other roads. So I think that's something we certainly have to consider right away. Thank you.
Councillor Rhino.
Well, getting back to what Jesse said, nobody, you can take your facts, but nobody's going to call in and say, I dump stuff on this road and tell you. Like, that's just not going to happen. And I just think that I feel, and this is personal, the staff are throwing up roadblocks to keep that closed. Now they're saying that it's going to cause a lineup of traffic on the Georgefield Road. Really, what's it going to be next week? We need to open this up at least partially to get rid of some of this backlog and stop what's going to cost us down the road. And for $10,000, we can do another C&D waste. That's not doable when we can get the people to bring it, practice social distancing, keep our distance, and put it away themselves. It's getting really frustrating. And I wish somebody was getting some more of the calls to understand the pressure we're being put under. Thank you.
Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, I'm not muted. And thank you, Jesse, for weighing in there. I guess I will be very much looking forward to phasing in, and I'm hoping that will happen sooner than later. It does feel like it's more of a staffing issue than a C-19 issue. So I'm hoping to get things, I guess, put in place sooner than later. That's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
I have no one else left to speak, so I would ask the deputy chair, I guess that's you, Councillor Musa, if you would take the chair while I weighed in on this, perhaps. I sense the frustration, and I know I haven't had near the calls that Councillor Rhino has had, but I have had questions. And I can tell you right now, if I go back and tell folks that the reason the landfill is remaining closed is because we are down 50% in staff and only have 2 operators on site, I'm going to be asked why that's acceptable. Why don't you hire more staff? And the majority, maybe not the majority, but a lot of the folks that live in my area and folks that I hear from, they do, as other counselors said, they work in construction. And they're out there every day with their hand sanitizer and all the stuff in place, and sometimes masks, and trying to social distance when it's really not possible to do it. But they're doing it in the safest way that they can do it. And it's what's expected from the employer, and it's what's expected from the public, and it's what's expected from the province, that this construction goes on. And I just think that we do provide a service to the public, and we provide a very good service. And I certainly don't want to put our employees at risk. But I think if the big reason is because we've only got 2 folks out there working full time, then we need to, at least on a temporary basis, hire more folks. And if the concern is opening on Saturday, and it could well, the first Saturday at least, be a long lineup of people waiting to get in there. So maybe you don't just open it up on Saturday. Maybe you open it a day through the week, Monday and Saturday. And, and I think you're looking at maybe the first opening will be somewhat overwhelming, but that's going to happen anyway, because we are going to have to open at some point. And I think we would be well served to have the staff that's there now who are getting fatigued some help, and maybe sooner rather than later, to allow us to continue to provide the services that we need to provide, and while allowing our current staff to, maybe get some rest and get some help out there. And this is an unprecedented situation, but I don't think it's reinventing the wheel. I think, we could hire some folks, and there are people there, in spite of the CERB, there are operators that, would come to work for good paying jobs. And I guess those are kind of my comments. I just think we should, we certainly can't open tomorrow if we've only got 2 folks there. But I think we should be looking at mitigating that and putting whatever measures in we can. And maybe we do phase it. Maybe we start with, we start with Mondays when there are no commercial haulers, and then on Saturdays for the hours they're open, and take it from there. That would be my suggestion anyway.
Is that everything, Councillor Rosen?
That's it for now. Thank you.
I have Councillor McGuinness. You want to take your chair before, or you want me to keep it?
That's completely up to you, sir.
You can take it.
Thank you. I wanted to offer my support for increasing staffing levels. I hear about the fatigue, and I can also imagine the mental anguish as well. So it's a tough spot to be in. And so if we can provide some relief, and maybe that would be a permanent thing ongoing, that's something staff will assess. With only opening it on certain days is a concern to me, because the less time something is available to the public, the more public that is going to be there. So that's another, another variable that really needs to be taken into account, so that you might even find that the phasing could be, district, well, I'll say 4, district 4 on a certain day, or district 4 and 5, or just to start with. And of course you'd have to use community names, I expect, but I wouldn't want it just to be completely open for everyone on only a day or a day and a half a week. So I guess that's one. And the other one is if we're able to in some way get help for staffing and provide staffing increase the staffing level. I'm another one of the councillors that is receiving a great number of phone calls. So thank you.
Kim?
Councillor, through Madam Chair, I don't want to leave anyone with the impression that we're not trying to get our staffing improved out there. We certainly are. And that's not the primary, I mean, safety of our staff is a primary reason why we haven't opened, but we are still operating under a state of emergency in the province. And I understand that that seems like it's becoming more lax with every time the Premier and Dr. Strang announced, you know, we're lifting restrictions on certain things. But up until this past weekend, that has really been still quite tight. We can look at options to reopen the site. It's not going to be easy to do immediately by any stretch. There will be things, you know, you are going to have a lot of people there. There will be money that will be spent on traffic control and whatnot. And we can look at that, and you can leave that with me, and Jesse and I will work through what those scenarios look like, and come up with a plan. But we are still operating under a state of emergency where people have social distancing requirements in place, and protective gear is required, and all of that. So although it seems like we're getting more loose, we're still, as a government, responsible to operate in that manner. So we are working on additional staff resources out at the Waste Management Center. We understand this isn't sustainable with 2 staff, and it's not the reason why we haven't opened up. I still wouldn't have recommended opening up whether we had a full complement of staff out at the site, because of the other restrictions that are in place by the province and by the federal government. So I'm hearing that there is some desire to have it opened up, either to C&D collection or other, and we can have those conversations at the staff level and put resources in place. If there's appetite to spend some money to get that to happen, we could do that. I guess I'd look for direction on some action or status quo. And if it's some action, then we would take that at an administrative level and figure out what that looks like.
Councillor Rhino?
I do believe we need some action, whether it's a phased in by districts, as Councillor McGinnis has said, whether it's something, but we need some relief, or it's going to cost. Health is number one. But when we get to the end of this, if we ever do, the cost of the municipality for cleanups is going to be astronomical in my mind, if there's that much out there is what we're hearing. So if we meet halfway, phase something in 2 days a week, phase it in by districts, at least we're shown as doing something to help the public. I understand we're still under this restriction, but people are out there, they're wanting to do stuff because they've been bottled up for so long. And this is how that they're working off the COVID thing, is by doing home improvements. And if we can help them out and do our social distancing and stay safe, why shouldn't we make some kind of, and make this some kind of arrangement that would suit everyone?
So are you making that a motion, Councillor?
I would so move that staff look into the phasing in of the landfill site, and I'll leave it to staff to determine to bring back to council.
Second.
We have a seconder. Seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Question.
Okay, I have, the warden has a question.
Not necessarily a question. I mean, I don't run land or waste management centers, and I do trust that we've had great staff to do it. So I'm gonna not support this motion. I'm gonna leave it up to staff. I think they're the people that have to do it. I am in construction, and every day is a risk that we have to our employees. We have weekly meetings. Some people are comfortable, some aren't. If we're gonna force employees to put them at risk, then I think that should be done. And I don't think it should be a political decision forcing staff to do it. We only have one employee, and that's Kim. The rest of the staff are directed by her and her director. So I'm not supporting the motion.
Kim?
I guess I wouldn't see this having to come back to council, Madam Chair, if, again, if I get direction from council to look seriously at this, then that's what I would do. And I would work with staff to make sure that whatever we do is within our human resource and public safety that we could do as an employer.
And I'm sure that if council, would certainly make staff aware if they want something different done.
Just the motion said it would come back to council. So I think we could just act on it once council makes the motion.
Is
Okay,
this
I can-
motion,
I can
is that agreeable to the mover and seconder?
Yes.
And the seconder? Okay. All right. Do we have anyone else left to speak? I may have missed your hands because the picture is still pixelating somewhat. So Councillor Green, did you wish to speak?
I was just going to make the comment. So this motion would encompass if we need to hire more staff, that's very doable with no backlash from council. Perfect.
Good.
That's what I would assume.
Yeah, as it should be.
I can't do it without spending money. So
Okay. You're ready for the question?
Question.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Did I count right? 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor. And those contrary? Okay, so we have 4 opposed. Do you wish the names to be read or have you got them?
I have them, that's good.
Okay. All right, so I believe that concludes the business of Executive Committee. We will be adjourning Executive Committee to, there I am trying to run Shirley's screen again. We will be adjourning Executive Committee to go into a policy meeting of council immediately after adjourning from executive. So I would be looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Take your pick. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Contrary? Motion is carried. We may get good at this yet, folks.
I hope not.
I'd just like to tell Jim that your picture is breaking up most of the time, Jim, so he can't see when you got your hand up.
it's your virtual background.
Is that what it is?
No, it's windy in Burncoat today. I can hear it, Eldon. It's just blowing them around down there with the island.
Okay, folks, we are still live.
Jim, you're muted.
I would call the regular meeting of council policy to order. The first item on the agenda is corporate and residential services. Councilor Rolston.
And I just need to wait for that to come up on the screen. Okay, the committee held its regular meeting on May the 19th, 2020, electronically via Zoom. The following motions are coming forward as a result of the meeting. COVID-19 Property Tax Financing Program Policy. The Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities, NSFM, has rolled out a property tax financing program policy template that municipalities can adopt to assist residential and commercial taxpayers that are negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing, DMHA, and the Municipal Finance Corporation, MFC, will offer municipal units the ability to borrow to offset the amount that will be financed to taxpayers. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee move that Council, having received notice to approve the policy on April 29th, 2020, approve the COVID-19 Property Tax Financing Program Policy as attached to the May 19th, 2020 Executive Committee agenda. As Chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
So moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
Questions and called, signify in your right hand. All in favor is passed unanimously. The Counselor Rolston.
The second item is the inclusive washroom and change policy. At the July 24th, 2019 regular meeting of council, council directed staff to investigate into replacing the gender-specific washroom signs to a non-specific version in the upcoming budget. Staff have reviewed applicable legislation and the policies and available gender-neutral washroom offerings of other municipalities and organizations of similar size in comparison. The Corporate and Residential Services Committee recommends to council that council gives notice of intent to adopt the proposed inclusive washroom and change room policy as attached to the May 19th, 2020 Executive Committee agenda. As chair of the committee, I so move.
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion?
Question?
Question.
Question called. We'll go to the vote. Signify by raising your right hand.
Aye.
All the votes are in. It is passed unanimously.
And that
The,
concludes my report. I move the adoption of this report.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Contrary, motion is passed. I'd look for a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
It's moved,
Second.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary, it's passed. Anyway, have a good day.